Yeah. Are you? Yeah, you're recording it.
Yeah.
I'm Dagmar. Last name is Glausnitzer-Smith. And I am in Germany in my studio called Werftraum.
Okay.
In Braunschweig. I have been invited by Bodyscape to talk with you.
Yeah.
I have known you for some time now, and we
Okay.
have had lots of experiences due to some wonderful events which have happened in India. Though I regret a little bit that mostly these events cannot be transported to Europe or to Germany, you know, which is, if it was a true exchange, you would have a different experience, and conversation about these experiences enlarge and extend our understanding. I'm very grateful that I have been invited by you last year to WUD, and we did a wonderful workshop there. I'm not calling myself a performance artist, though my specialty in many occasions, especially during events and festivals and public occasions, I'm doing my performance work. I believe that me as an artist, primarily, I'm a maker. I'm a maker in a very specific, although also general sense. The maker who is creating a visual image which can take many different forms in media.
Okay. So you already mentioned about the maker,
Short introduction.
Yeah. So can I call it as you are an image maker? Like, okay. So it's like, it's a image making.
Yes, image in the largest meaning of the word. I think especially performance art has evoked the question of what image is. Yeah, image in performance is fleeting, is escaping. It is not in the traditional sense to be represented in a permanent way. It tackles many unfamiliar, untraditional, unconventional ways of general perception by the public, by ourselves as the artists as well.
Okay, in continuation with your practice, can you tell us more about your practice, that conceptual approach, the process of your work, how you conceptualize it, you know, a little bit more elaborate how you, the process making, you know, while you are doing a performance art, before the execution, you doing something, the process, how you gone through it, or how you conceptualize a performance. It's about your practice.
Yes, I know it's a very general question. I was thinking about this a lot, especially about the idea of process, the idea of concept, which is a double question, you know, the idea of the idea. But I'm very interested to research and to refine these aspects in my practice. Practically means also thinking about it, reflecting in certain ways and methodologies which I can observe, though more in retrospective than using conceptualization as a prescription or a recipe to perform a so-called process of developing my work. We can very easily get stuck into these words of process and what else did you say? process and conceptualization. And it's not easily understood what that means. You want to know now practically what it could be in my own work, but this is different each time. There, in some of your questions, you are asking about where is it? You asked about the duration, and you asked about
selecting a props.
Yeah, I don't believe in the word
those are like in a,
but
I think selecting a props decision in the duration making, how what type, it is the same thing. I think it is a how.
yes, but for me it goes too fast. I think already the viewing, the paying attention of the everyday, which I'm finding, which I'm meeting, becomes the object. So there is a gap, acknowledging something, a thing. In German, the thing is not arbitrary. In German philosophy, the thing, which is das Ding, has already inherent a very particular meaning. I cannot elaborate on that. But anyway, in this process, unfolding itself to me, with me, I'm beginning then to enter into an idea process, if you want to use the word process. I'm not reflecting process at that moment. I'm leading. No, I'm not leading. I'm being guided. Yeah. And until I'm coming to a certain point where my idea creates an image, perhaps, that's when the reflective conceptual process begins. When I'm asking, okay, what is this thing? I'm determining what this thing is, where it has come from. I'm looking at it, I'm studying it, I'm researching it, and mostly in my work, I'm paying a lot of attention to linguistics and the semantics of a history and the history of the word, yeah, the determination of what this thing is. And then already the process begins. I'm taking notes, I'm making drawings, yeah. The thing materializes. Oh shit. Well, hang on. Wait 1 second, I'm sorry.
Okay, not a problem.
Ich kann jetzt nicht, ich bin in der Konferenz, ich rufe dich später an. Okay, this was my mom, very important. So, very, very slowly then, the analysis, which is already a distant way of operating with the thing, which originally came from everyday life, begins to enter this stage with many, many layers. And these layers, I'm interested to determine, I'm interested to accept them as they are, with their characteristics, into developing my work. Which is not the work in a general sense, but a particular kind of work. Say, for instance, paper. Yeah, I have been using paper in many ways, and it is reoccurring. Each time as it reoccurs, the actions always change due to the context where I am, but the quality of the paper is being reassessed each time. So I can never, ever take for granted that paper is paper.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a long answer.
Yeah. So
did you follow? Does it make sense to your question?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
okay.
It's a process. Yeah, why not? So yeah, It's a simple, again, it's a simple question, like how you decide the duration. Like, you know, you've gone through the process, you select
Okay.
the object and you decide, okay, this, this work will be 10 minutes or this work will be a long duration for one day.
Okay, there can be, it is being differentiated. At some point, the object, the thing which has become object, which now has been recognized, by its nature, determines or can determine the duration. Say, for instance, I work with ice. Yeah, ice is frozen water. So the ice in my action determines a duration. If I'm paying attention to that. Say, for instance, I use a ladder, my action and the ladder. The ladder only has so many steps. I acknowledged that before. So I can determine that the duration will be according to the steps. Yeah, the action, I mean, I can go fast and I can go slow. Yeah, but still, the ladder determines for me in its own right what the duration could be. Okay, then if I decide it may be a durational work, then the object again dictates an eternity. Yeah, I'm doing something, my action involves an issue which I know will never be solved. It will never resolve into anything. So for me, the duration, it is debatable when it starts and when it stops, you know, how it is defined. But say, for instance, it's an hour, then I know what I do. The selection of work action that I do is long before, long after 1 hour. Yeah, so I can know and determine right beforehand within my concept, yes, this is durational work. Say, for instance, I'm in the public arena and it is an interactive work, meaning that it involves the presence of the people that do not know what I'm doing. It becomes durational right away, yeah, because so the unknowing factor is part of the understanding of duration.
Okay, then Ivar talks about the, you know, the duration evolved when you are working, while you are performing, the duration evolved. That means the idea of improvisations came into your work. Is it because
No,
you improvise the action and duration is gone long? Is it, or
I don't believe in the word improvisation
okay?
because it is quickly assumed to be a term that results from theater or from the musical performance, because in the musical performance you have a score, in the theater you have a scene. You, under those contextual determinations, you have a preset. As an artist, you don't have a preset. You are not miming your idea, which may already be a visual image. Yeah, so that's not your guide. In the process of theater, to free oneself from the set or the preset, people began to listen to their intuition, and then improvisation arose as a methodology. In visual art, we don't meet with that because we understand, or I understand, intuition to be my helper. Yeah, it's in the first degree there, okay? Based on the knowledge of my previous experience, of my life, of other encounters, which I have had with my own work as well as with other artists. Okay, the practice.
Yeah.
That's my knowledge, and what resolved of it.
Mhm.
So methodology, yes, it is a must, but that's done by reason. That's done by analogies. That's done by analysis. That's done by the process of reflection. So
Mhm.
this is how I understand it. I
Okay.
trust my actions. I trust my helper. I'm giving the power to the helper in the action, which is the intuition. And then again, as the thing which we earlier talked about, it evolves and unfolds itself. And it is my power to follow the unfolding process.
So what happened in my experience one time? So I do a performance in Delhi, and there is a one ball I'm throwing to the audience.
Yes,
Audience throw the ball to me. And
yes.
when I get the ball from the audience, I slap myself.
Mm,
So after a point of time, the audience stopped throwing the ball.
mm,
So the plan, the process was about to continue with the slapping.
mm,
After a point of time, the space was a terrace of the building. It's a 5-story terrace.
mm,
And the audience throw the ball from the building outside.
mm,
So the idea, the conceptual process is collapsed there. And
mm.
started improvising. I'm using the word improvising.
Okay.
And I continue with the work with
Good, yeah.
a spontaneous action.
Yes,
In
yes.
that way, I say, yeah, the involvement in a performance art during the performance, we can use the word improvise. It's not as a theater improvisation. It's a improvisation with the spontaneity or spontaneous action.
Okay, I feel more prone to, if you have that experience, to put the emphasis on the immediacy
Yeah.
and to, in the state of unknowing, in the state of a kind of phase that you no longer completely control with your mind,
Mhm.
to re-allow the mind to enter and to ask yourself in a split second, what do I do with this? How do I deal with this?
Mhm.
Yeah, it is the unforeseen that suddenly changes your action. And I think the trueness of that change, evaluates or values your entire action.
Yeah.
So I think we are saying the same thing, but we are using different words.
Yeah,
And the
yeah, yeah,
different,
that's true. Yeah.
but the different terminology gives, again, emphasis to a mind and thought process
Mhm.
which deals with you as a human being, with the awareness level or the attention level, which plays a much different role
Mhm.
than if you say I'm improvising.
Okay. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, for me, improvisation doesn't mean anything in the
Okay.
sense that, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you with me.
So yeah, yeah. See, yeah, performance art talks about the body. Always that body is very much important. So how do you bring your identity, like in terms of gender, like in terms of,
I'm not interested.
okay, you are, because you are,
I'm not interested at all. I'm in that sense, I'm not a body. Yeah.
okay,
Or I'm a fake body.
but but yeah.
I don't care. It is, if you want to see me as a female body, that's fine. You
Mhm.
can do that. I have nothing about it.
But
But for
again,
me,
as a, okay, again, as a
but,
viewer, if you are in a context, some context, like you are in India, so the
mm,
audience in front
yes,
of you, they will
Yes.
be as a foreigner, not from the local context.
Oh,
The,
sure.
the idea of identity always come to the
Yes.
viewer. So how,
Yes.
are you using those kind of identity?
No, I'm not using it at all. I'm accepting that as a fact. I know that's how it is. I know the prejudice. I can be aware of all the circumstances. If you come to Braunschweig, the same thing will happen to you because of how you look and how you are and da, da, da. So I can take that for granted. It is not interfering with the freedom
Okay.
of developing my work or my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that either.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It is an issue to not ignore. I'm not ignoring this at all. But if you talk about the concept, if you talk about my body as idea, then I'm overriding it.
Mm-hmm. Because
And so far it has worked. Yeah, it has had the power to sustain, I think. Although the everyday or the passerby may think differently, they're free to think what they think. You know, even if an ant crawls around, you know, so what?
yeah, because in my context, in India, there is a caste issue. There
Yes,
is a racial discrimination
yes,
about the Northeastern people. The
yes,
Northeast people means that Northeast from Nagaland, Manipur, Assam, because they
yes,
have, you know, very small eyes like a Chinese.
yes,
They call chinky.
yes.
It's a,
Okay.
so there are caste discrimination about the, you know, untouchability.
Mm.
In my context, that the identity matters, identity in terms of, you know, like genders, religion, and even caste is matter very much. So that's why these questions came, how in your context that those kind of issues is addressing by performance artists, not about you, the others, you know, in your region.
No, but I mean, you have the freedom to say your responsibility as the artist is to develop your concept towards these issues, which are normally based on prejudice because people don't know. Yeah. So you're free to make this your issue. I would even sustain my theory and say, even you in Assam, other situation in India, you can go beyond that point or you can address it. I mean, it's up to you and what you believe in, really, and what you feel is most important at any moment in time. I have the same freedom. If tomorrow I need to address that, then I may do so.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
depend.
but there's no dependency relationship because my body is public or my body has claimed a tiny little slot in the public space.
Okay, yeah, that's that's one way of looking at, I think. Yeah, it's good at all.
Say to you also what has never left my mind. When we had the discussion in Delhi, you were so acute with the idea of widening and encompassing the idea of performance art into a larger context. When you mentioned Mahatma Gandhi
Yeah,
and the Satyagraha Salt Walk in
yeah, yeah,
1930. And I was thinking about it, your claim, yeah? And you said it was a claim, you know?
yeah.
And I still came to the conclusion and said, our motivation as artists to criticize the public of not being informed about performance art does not liberate us to make performance art relative and appropriate actions in history to become performance art, because it's not. Yeah, he did not set out to say, I'm doing a durational performance by walking and picking up the soap. It was a purely clear and clean political action in his whole existence of political life. And to recognize that gives him justice in what he was doing. We can look back and say what kind of effect it had, in terms of body
effect
and effect. As many people watched that, and as you now recognize, wow, body in space, bodyscape. Here is somebody walking, But if you tomorrow say, I'm walking for 30 miles or for 3 days, you are the artist. It's your walk.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. You are many years of experience in workshop, having the workshop. We need to address, because I'm a trained painter. I did masters in painting, but I never taught performance art in institution. So nowadays the idea of workshop came into the many institutions. Like I invite to India to having workshop, and there are many other institutions having workshop. Not even institution like academic institution. There are like art organization or gathering, exploring the medium, exercise. Lots of things happen. So with your experience having workshop in different countries like India, Bangladesh, and abroad as well, and in your region maybe, is it healthy to popularize the medium, or is it how you see the workshop? Is it very important to being a performance artist or for the practicing performance artist?
I'm not interested at all in any way to popularize something.
Okay.
I'm interested in exchange. I'm interested, if you like, to touch people. I've asked myself many times, why am I doing these workshops? But maybe the reasons are unknown to me. The fact is that I'm doing it, and the fact is that it touches people. It's not me who touches them, they touch themselves. I'm the mediator. If I can be the mediator in the world, then this is my responsibility and this is my task, and I'm interested to fulfill that task with a growing effect in my own work to develop and to extend the practical process of the workshop itself, its structure. That changes from country to country, but I'm not changing it. It changes itself by being there. So I feel, since we had the possibility and the opportunity to work together at WD, where you facilitated as well. Yes, you invited me and I was maybe the main person there, but we shared. We shared with Samudra, we shared with other people who contributed. So that showed the pedagogical effect, of when this is taking place. By having had that experience, I'm not saying, oh, we must now do it everywhere. It will happen. I believe it will happen. It will grow because we've done it. We can resort back on it. And we can strengthen that point. I mean, if you say, okay, in India, the pedagogical development for performance art is 0, then I may I agree with you, but it's equally zero in other countries.
Mhm.
You know, it's not India alone. So
Okay.
I think if we look at it from a wider perspective, from the bird's eye view, and we dribble in, that's enough.
Mhm.
Yeah, at each and every opportunity. If you convince WUD, oh, we need Dagmar again, and we do 3 days, I do 3 days, you do 3. You know, it's another experiment,
Mhm.
yet again, a further developed uh, um, activity, which makes the whole institutional process richer. So that's what we fight for, yeah? That's what you fight for in your position. And that's what I'm interested to develop and offer
Mhm.
in the world.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yes.
We don't need to popularize. It doesn't, I don't believe in performance art to become a bestseller. No,
Mhm.
it is a niche and it will have that niche. And in that niche, it will grow like a flower if we give it water and light, sunlight.
Yeah, so quickly one question came actually. So you have to answer yes or in yes or no. Okay.
Okay. Oh my God.
So the question is in the academic. Okay, great. Uh,
Oh, you cannot read it.
yeah. So in the academic,
What it
uh,
says, the one who does not want to think will not fly.
okay, great.
Sorry, your question.
Yeah, the question is like in a traditional medium, in institution, there is a painting specialization, there is a sculpture specialization. I don't think performance art also should be those kind of specialization in institution. What do you think?
You mean, oh yeah, you want me to say yes or no?
Yeah, what do you think? Just I'm curious. You know, we are talking about pedagogy.
Okay, I feel in all of what I've said, what you have said, um, it is very quickly in the institutional way of thinking being absorbed to say, yeah, performance is another medium like sculpture, photography, painting, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Our belief is, yours and mine, that it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is not a medium. You always have students who say, oh, I want to try performance art because so far I've only done painting.
Mhm.
Yeah. But they come to the workshop to learn that it is much more. Academically, you know, I don't know how to insert
Mhm.
performance art as a non-medium, but a philosophy,
Mhm.
a human growth aspect,
Yeah.
yeah, of the artistic mind.
Mhm.
So maybe it's in the name that you can demediaize
Mhm.
performance art into the structure
Mhm.
of the institution, so it becomes a special place, a kind of umbrella space. In
Okay, sorry.
England,
Mhm.
there are only very few institutions in London. I had the privilege in the 90s to be in one of them where their institutional field was visual arts. So you define visual arts in many different ways. You don't have the medium of sculpting or printmaking or whatever. You have visual arts, that's it. You know, deal with it, do it. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's open.
That's a very convenient, like that's a very interesting point of view actually.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a
And I
good
think
point. Yeah.
that's the way to go. If the institution can accept we are not here for painting, but we're here for visual arts,
Mhm.
and we are here to define what visual arts can be,
Mhm.
then we have the place.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Even if you have within the year academic year, you have 4 years of all the different categories. Yeah, 4 years. Then you have 2 years of visual arts. Then in those two years, you incorporate everything that you have done practically, and you are seeing it though from a different perspective.
Yeah.
You're entering in a different way of perception
Yeah.
by becoming a visual artist. And that includes the responsibility in life. You know, be prepared. Come on. Who is a visual artist who survives? Yeah, with their work? How many sustain life? What about a documentation? What about the copyrights, etc.? So the whole reality related issues of visual arts needs to be there.
You did the work in many different countries, like India, Bangladesh, Canada, UK, Finland, blah, 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 lots of.
Yes.
So how do you perceive the Indian performance art? Indian means that Bangladesh as well, like Southeast Asia. How do you see the genre or the area of performance art? How do you observe in the global context? And also little bit talks about your context, like, you know, in a globally, how you see the contemporary practices happening.
Yes, I feel I don't want, in a way, I do want to differentiate. In another way, I don't, because I can't. The issues that we discussed, or where the dialogue occurred, is very similar in all the different countries, because we are dealing with human needs and human desires and human ways of imagination and the power of the imagination. And that I don't want to categorize and say, oh, it's this way in this country, it's this way in another country. Of course, there's a kind of temperament, there is a kind of freedom experience in different cultures, you know? But I feel that nowadays, from past 10 years, the performance art interest and involvement in societies through festivals has increased successfully so much, you know, that it's making its stand, it's making its point, it's developing its strength, yeah, enough so that we don't have to say, oh, Asia versus Europe, you know. I'm rather interested to put everything into one pot and say, what is the meeting? Anupam, come to Germany. You know, what is your experience? Rather than coming to Asia all the time and then, you know, being forced in a way to think, oh, Asia thinks this way. No, I have no idea. You know, I cannot say.
And
I think it's change and the experience together, the merging of cultures that we are enforcing in forthcoming years.
so just how do you observe that performance art practice in India? Like, you know many people, many artists, you know, you've seen many artists work. So it's like a commentary, or it's like a criticism. What is your criticism, or what is your commentary?
No, it's not, I tell you, it's not a criticism, but it is something, of course, that I'm asking myself through my own work, is that it feels especially in India, I cannot talk for South Korea or Thailand, but in India, I feel that there is an importance in interactivity and in the public scene. I feel that there is a strong desire to make a point.
Mm.
Yeah, but it comes too soon for me. It misses out the individual process of the artist and the idea. Yeah, quickly from the idea, it jumps into the public and it says, "Oh, I'm making an impact here. You know, I'm taping my face. Everybody's looking now. I'm taping my face. You know." So it's this to make this almost like play this role of the outsider in an everyday market situation or something seems to be too quickly too important. I want to almost like go back and say, wait a minute, you know, yes, it is important. And yes, it may be more important in that sense in the Indian society or in Asian society, but it doesn't undermine the thought process that you have to go through yourself before making a point, a public point. Yeah, what's the point of making a public point if you are not inside yourself?
Yeah.
Then you're a clown. I'm not saying you. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand.
You have this, but you understand that there can be people can be fascinated by this liberational action and say, oh wow, you know, now I can be the clown. I can draw all the attention to me, you know. I'm a performance artist. Yeah. No. You know, it's a shortcut.
Yeah. So you want to add something in this conversation?
Yes, I want to say
Or you want to ask something, or you want to, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, as I just said this, I kind of quickly recollected our workshop at WUD, and there I noticed that as we were going very sensitively step by step, people did, you know, the students did go inside themselves. It was not the pure desire of saying, look at me, I'm, yeah, it didn't happen. So that proved to me that through the way of communication, you can reach that very sensitive heart spot, yeah? And the idea can be born there and it can develop. So yeah. But it's interesting because I feel also to enlarge and to open up these kind of facilities really gives a wider scope, you know. Just now through your own experience, you know, how to see an image or a moving image and, you know, how it is possible to become part of it, to forget yourself and to enter, you know, what are the means, what are the strategies there, you know, what is the knowing and the unknowingness there. I think if the academy or the institutions can open up and see and understand the many ways in, yeah, then it opens the world in a much larger context. Already then, you know, a Russian producer, my God, you know, how does a Russian think or something like that? And the commonalities there, the collectiveness, to poke into that, you know, is so much more important than to say, oh, how is performance art in Asia or Southeast Asia, you know?
Yeah.
It is what it is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we are done with the conversation. Or you want to add something more?
Yeah, I just want to add one question. I feel it is very important and very good. You always do that, that you are packaging certain activities and initiatives into a scheme, into a kind of box, which you name, which you title, which you officially put the ribbon around, you know, and I think that's also visual artist practice or professional practice, which is very important. And what is your intention with Bodyscape to become or to do? What is it going to develop into?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question actually. Even I am also asking myself this question, you know, and I don't want to, like Bodyscape is my initiative. This is the
Mm,
first issue and first motto.
mm,
Bodyscape can be an idea or it's
mm.
a mental space. It can be a physical space. Because,
Okay.
you know, uh, it's about the what we are talking about now. It can
Yeah.
be host a workshop, it
Mm,
can host a performance event, it
mm,
can host a festival, it can
mm.
host a exhibition,
Okay.
can be
Cool.
host having a accents between like we did, or it can be interview session, conversation. Mostly, Bodyscape is a center point and
Okay.
surrounded by the performance artist.
Okay.
Landscape. It's a
Yes.
landscape. And
Okay, but don't forget the little flowers on the landscape,
yeah,
which
yeah.
maybe not experience performance art, but they think they're painters or whatever they are. But they're part of that landscape also, you know.
Also Bodyscape is a open for the authorship as well, because I have seen, there is a call in performance art world, even in the visual art world,
Mm,
there is a I. I means I. That I
mm,
ego is sometimes very problematic.
mm.
That I-ness, that
Yes, yes.
ego. So Bodyscape is a scape means, it's a larger things, scape.
Okay.
That like a
Yes.
landscape, we see the horizon, large horizon.
Okay, good, good.
Scape,
But
we
you,
see the verticals, lots of. So Bodyscape is a that I verticality, that scape.
many eyes.
Yeah, it's a many eye. Yeah, it's yes. So I
That's
don't want
beautiful.
to, yeah, I don't want to say it's a collective as well. I don't
Mm,
know what is it. That's why in a note, when I mailed you, I wrote one word that Bodyscape is a nonsense as well.
mm. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like Dada movement did that.
Yeah.
Dada is did nonsensical. Yeah. So
Well, but I think out of the nonsensicalness arrives the sense, because you have named it, and the body escape or the land escape bears the mountains and bears the many different formations that is inherent, and I think that's quite a strong potential, you know. So the kind of gathering. I mean, Boris Nisloni here from Germany, the godfather of performance art, if you like. He also has started maybe not so active, but semi-active archive, you know, of exhibitions, of objects, of givings, of text, you know, ongoing, creating this system, this network, this tree, unfolding, you know. So I think we also carry this desire to, you know, network, to spread, you know,
yeah.
and develop these. I have done transit station, which I call it's the event, and which incorporates all different forms of visual and um, performing arts as well, you know, to not even differentiate. So I think to host within ourselves that desire to establish these packages is wonderful. It's great. It's a great
Yeah,
task.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think thank you for being with me.
Thank you.
Again, that me is problematic. Dealing with Bodyscape. So also it's like you can also host a Bodyscape zone, you know, from your side, from your country.